Well, hello. Welcome back, Doomtubers, to the channel. It's time to give the people, you. It's time to give the people what they want, what they've been asking for. I've just been inundated with emails and messages and tweets and blah blah blah. People telling me, asking me to just show them and talk about my Final Fantasy X collection. No, none of that happened. None of that happened. Not even one happened. No. But regardless, today is the Final Fantasy X discussion. Now, I just beat Final Fantasy X again, 10 HD. I beat it on the Vita. I got this for Christmas from my lovely wife, and I loved it. Loved it. It was a fantastic experience once again. Um, it's Final Fantasy X. I mean, I knew what I was getting into, but there are a few different things here and there that I'll talk about briefly. But I guess we'll just show you the collection here because I realized prior to shooting this video that I have a lot of games in this. I mean, a lot of copies of this game, and I mean, I'll have like a huge collection. Danny, Devil May Pie, I believe, has some figures and things which are really cool. I just haven't ever uh, got into those type of things, but I would love to have me a unifigure at some point. So that may happen someday in the future, but for right now, I'm not in a huge hurry. But we'll start off here with my original copy. This is my personal original copy of Final Fantasy X. This is sure it's the greatest hits. I really don't mind greatest hits copies. This is my original with my original manual and the disc. So it's a complete copy, and I got this for Christmas the same year that I got my PlayStation 2, which I think was like 2003. I want to say something 2003, I think, when I got my PlayStation 2, and I remember I hand picked this game because I knew I was getting the PS2. My sister bought this for me for Christmas the same year that I got the PlayStation 2, and I just remember how excited I was to play this game because one of my good friends had talked about it so much, and I wanted to play it so much, and then I got it. Christmas morning came, got the PlayStation 2, got Final Fantasy X, booted it up, was really excited, and I didn't have a memory card. Yeah, no memory card, so I had to wait at least a day. I can't remember, it was a day or two before I could go out and pick up a PS2 memory card with Christmas money that I had received that year. So how, very fortunate to have gotten some cash for Christmas to be able to uh, cover the cost of the memory card, because I think it was like, I want to say like $25, something like that for a first party memory card. I really don't remember, but I want to say it was that much. So there you go. There's my original copy of Final Fantasy X, and I have since got another copy of, and I've actually had another copy too that I ended up giving away. Here is the second copy, a black label copy that I picked up from Duck Do Gaming, with the nice crispy manual and a very nice case. It's actually in super awesome condition. But yeah, I did actually have another copy of this that I picked up. I don't remember where I got it exactly. Maybe I got it from Grub Gun. I don't know, in a trade we did. I ended up with another copy of this and black label copy, and I had a second copy of the strategy guide that I picked up at a flea market for really cheap, and that was like my grand prize for my 100 sub contest a couple of years ago. So that was cool. I was able to share my Final Fantasy X love. And speaking of strategy guides, here is my original strategy guide. Look how haggard this thing is. This front cover is very much taped on there all the way up the side. There is a nice bead of tape, and on the inside of the back page and the front page as well, some pages missing right in the front there. So yeah, this will not win any awards for being in good shape, because this is not in good shape. But I tell you what, this guide was used a lot. Uh, I played this game numerous times, and I had actually lent the game and the strategy guide to at least one friend. I want to say two, and my brother-in-law. So this was back in the day, when games were, you know, for at least for us, the age that we were, games were a little bit harder to come by. So we made them stretch by passing them around. Everybody got to play everybody's games basically. That's just how it worked. Um, and yeah, then Final Fantasy X was a huge hit among several of my friends, um, who I convinced to play it by lending them my copy and my copy of the strategy guide. So yeah, there's Final Fantasy X proper for the PlayStation 2 and the guide, and I've owned a copy of this game before, and I grabbed this from Duck also. I don't even think I asked for it. I think he just threw it in there because I was getting 10, and he wasn't going to give me 10 and not 10-2, because who the heck would want just straight up 10-2? So we have 10-2 also for the PlayStation 2. I will probably never, ever, ever, ever play this. At least this version. Probably will never play this version. Why would I at this point? Honestly, same with the PlayStation 2 version. Like, as much as I love it and as nostalgic as this is, why would I ever go back and play this version when I can play one of these? Here's the HD remaster that was released in 2014. This is the version that I picked up originally when it first came out. I think it was last March of 2014, I think, something like that. Picked it up. I was really happy to get it. Love Final Fantasy X. I was really excited to play it again because it had been several years since I played it prior. And I got it, and I played for about 34 hours and some change, something like that. Pretty close to 35 hours. And just put it down in favor of other things, just because this is definitely the type of game that, like, once you've played it for so long and you get to a certain point in the game, and it's just like when you start thinking about all of the things, most of them optional, all of the things that you have to do in order to finish the game, you're just like, ugh. Most of it, like I said, is optional, but it's very grind heavy, and it's collecting the celestial weapons, which require you to do a lot of different things, from collecting fiends to playing mini games and just doing all sorts of just odds and ends that just take a ton of time. And for the weapons that I would have wanted to get, it would have taken a significant amount of time, but it wouldn't be difficult. So I put the game down, just because it was like, I felt comfortable with it. I wasn't necessarily like straight up abandoning it. Not going to come back. Just like, well, I'll play some other things, especially because this was brought up in the AGP chat today when we were talking about it. This is a replay. Alex said that, because he's playing it right now too, I think. So this is a replay, so it's like kind of low priority. And that's kind of the way I felt about it back in the day. Return to Mother Base, what I'm talking about. There's a replay, so it's like, I'll just put it down, move on to other things. And so that's what I did. So this sat on the shelf for several months. And then, of course, I got this for Christmas, the Vita version, which is amazing. And also, this is the version that I would have bought initially, but I didn't have a Vita yet. And when fate would have it that I got a Vita like a month after I bought that game. So whatever. So I got this for Christmas, and I didn't put it in right away. Actually, I did actually. I put it in the Vita pretty soon after getting it, and grabbed the save file from my PlayStation 3 because it is cross save. You can play it on one, then shoot your save to the other console, handheld or console, and play it on there, and then vice versa, shoot it back to the other console, finish it up on there, whatever you wanted to do. So you could cross play with these two, which was super nice. So I was able to get my save onto here, and I didn't do anything with it. Really just messed around a little bit right then. I just wanted to make sure that I could do it. I wanted to make sure that I could get my save file onto the Vita and play it. And sure enough, worked like a charm, worked perfectly. And then here about, well, it was a couple weeks ago now, I guess, on the podcast, both Dustin and Steven both playing this game, and we'd had several conversations in the chat, about things here and there about Final Fantasy X because they were both playing it. It's like, you know what? I feel like playing it. So I grabbed the Vita, booted it up, and started playing it again. And 20 hours later, about a week's time, 20 hours later, I beat the game. And it was super awesome. I was super overpowered. What I did do, and minor spoilers if you haven't played the game, I did collect one of the Celestial Weapons. Well, actually, I collected two of them, but I only messed with one. Yuna's Celestial Weapon, the Nirvana, the staff Nirvana. And I did collect all of the Aeons, and I did collect the Moon Crest and the Moon Sigil. So I was able to max out Nirvana, which, let's see if I can remember right. Maxing out this weapon gives it the abilities double overdrive, double or triple overdrive, I can't remember, which means you gain overdrive faster. Double experience, 1 MP cost in battle, not outside of battle. In battle, 1 MP cost. No matter what spell it is, it costs 1 mana point, which is awesome. And then damage limit break, which means prior to that, any attack that Yuna could do spell-wise would only do a maximum of 9,999 damage. Now, with Nirvana maxed out, you can go past that. So she can do, 10,000 up to 99,999 damage. Tons of damage. And, I took her through the sphere grid. 3 different people. Her own sphere grid. Lulu's sphere grid was second. So she learned all of the black magic spells all the way through Flare and Double Cast, which is the greatest ability in the game. And then I did pick up Ultima because actually, of all people, Auron was the closest to it at the time, where I was like, okay, I need to get this. So he was actually the closest character to it, all the sphere grid. So I was like, you know what? I'll just take him through there, get Ultima, and then use a black magic sphere. Have Yuna use a black magic sphere to learn it, which was perfect. And then I took Yuna through Riku's sphere grid, so she was able to use the Steel special ability and the Use special ability, which is perfect, and also just learn or get Riku's spheres, which a lot of strength and a lot of agility and speed. So that was kind of the ideal build for Yuna. Like, she was all of the spells in the game pretty much. I think I taught her, and then lots of speed. So she was with maxed out Nirvana and all the Aeons, obliterated everything and everyone. She was so powerful. In the last couple of boss battles, I didn't even use anybody else. Like, I could just spam double cast an Ultima or double cast Flare, or just summon the Magus Sisters or Anima, it was just over. Like there was just no hope for anything in the end of the game. Like it was one of those things. It's like I just had to laugh the entire time, especially because prior to this, because this is the first time that I played and played through the end of the game and didn't get Orin's sword maxed out. So I was a little worried prior to this, like I wonder if I can do this, and then I'm like one shotting things, one shotting boss enemies at the end of the game. I'm like, holy crap, this is just ridiculous. So completely cheesed out the end of the game. It took no effort, just the time it took to cast the spells and things, and it was just done. It was just done. I laughed through the rest of the game, and then the ending comes, and I bawled like a baby. It was very sad. Again, I knew it was coming, and it's just like, and you know, people can say what they want about the Final Fantasy X storyline. I think it's great. I do think that there's a heavy dose of nostalgia that comes with that for me, but I still can't take anything away from it. I still love the game. It's still one of my favorites, one of my favorite games ever, and definitely my favorite Final Fantasy still, and one of my favorite RPGs. Period. Like it's such a good game. Uh, Back to like there are a few differences with Final Fantasy X HD. It is the international version of the game, which we didn't see here in North America ever. So there are a couple of added things. For one, the Dark Aeons. I don't remember exactly when it happens, like when they become a thing in the game, but at some point you'll be able to encounter the dark versions of your Aeons in the game, and they'll kick your ass. They will kick your ass. I can't remember exactly where I was. I think I was on the Jose High Road, or maybe it was on the other side. I can't remember exactly where I was, but I was just walking along, and like these people started chasing me. I'm like, "What is going on?" And then it flashes over, and I see like the Maga sisters like on a cliff, and then they just like come at me. And I'm like, "Oh, shiza!" And I got attacked by the Dark Maga sisters, and yeah, they one-shotted me. Uh, Delta attack. They didn't waste any time. Delta attack, which is their overdrive. Super long animation, super exaggerated animation, and it's like toast. 99,999 damage, like that. I luckily I'd only lost like maybe an hour of grinding because I was just like running around doing things. So it wasn't a big deal, wasn't a huge deal. I was a little bummed out, but it's just like I wasn't expecting it at all. I'd completely forgotten that this was the international version of the game and that these things were there. And one of the other things that I like about the international version, I think this was on the international, is a little blurb. It's like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes long at the end, or it's another option. You have to click it. It's called the Eternal Calm, which is just a little, 10, 15 minute like bridge cutscene kind of thing between Final Fantasy X and X-2. Kind of shows Yuna and her kind of struggle to kind of go back to any sense of normalcy after defeating Sin, and you just see her like just very uncomfortable in her own skin, and just really just uncomfortable in being back in Besaid, and she just wants to do something. She wants to get out of there. So it's just kind of a cool little blurb, basically setting up the story for Final Fantasy X-2, which I know nothing about, like the true blue story of Final Fantasy X-2. It may be great. I have no idea. My biggest qualm with Final Fantasy X-2 has been the garment grids, and just like not really understanding or wanting to understand why it is the way it is, or how it works. Blah blah blah. That said, I did start the game. I downloaded it because unfortunately the Vita version of the game comes with a voucher for 10.2, not a copy of 10.2 on the cartridge. You have to download it. Wah, big deal. Nobody's going to download it anyway. If, half the people that bought this game didn't buy or aren't not going to download 10.2, but I did, and I did start it. I only played about 20 minutes. It was just a little bit earlier, so I got through like the opening and some of the opening like battle sequences and stuff, and I'm gonna give it a shot. No promises. No promises whatsoever. I can't promise that I will finish this game or even play it for any semblance of length, but we're gonna give it a shot. So there you go. I know this wasn't supposed to be a review and not even like a true blue game discussion of Final Fantasy X, but just going to give you an overview, a little bit of my history with Final Fantasy X, my collection of Final Fantasy X games, and kind of my brief offering of opinions and of my experience with Final Fantasy X HD, which I just finished once again. So there you go. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Doom Weirds out.